It is super easy to think everything matters at the same level, and that just is not true. But when you get into the flow of things and you feel good and you have momentum and you're tracking habits and you're doing things that maybe you've never been able to do consistently, the last thing in the world you want to feel like is you're giving something up, especially if you feel like it matters a lot.
I just started a new podcast, Business Growth University, Level Up Your Life and Business. And that makes 9 episodes a week between the Conscious Couples podcast, Business Growth University, and Next Level University, not including the 6 or 7 I'm doing per week on other podcasts. I am overwhelmed, and it is time to essentialize.
Next Level Nation, today for episode number 2080, what are your essentials? So as you heard in the cold open from Alan, it's Monday when we're recording this. Haven't heard from Alan a couple days. Saturday, I worked all day, he worked all day. Sunday, I go off and do my thing. He worked all day. And now here we are on Monday. And he's like, hey, man, I'm overwhelmed. It's like, all right, cool. Why don't we talk about it? So we're going to talk about essentials and all that. And how do you actually figure out what the essentials are? Because I think if you're somebody who, let's say you do something now every day. Yeah, at one point you didn't track habits. Now you track habits every single day. Yes, that's essential. But you're going to start tracking habits that might not be essential. And we might have to get rid of those, or we might have to adjust those, or we might have to put them off until there's a more realistic timeline for you. And I think it feels like shit when you're doing something and you feel like it's working, and then you have to say, like, does this actually matter, or does it feel good? And I'm not saying that's your case, but
what I think is really difficult about this is you start something new, you're super pumped about it, you got a streak going. I've got something called the Next Level Sales System. I taught it to clients, they're crushing it, I'm doing well with it, Kev's doing it. And the law of trade-offs, when you add something to an already full life, I have a question for you. So you've been working with me for 8 years.
I have. Best damn 8 years of my life.
Nice. I think that's actually true, right?
Yeah, which says how shitty my life was, huh? You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding.
That's really funny. So, yeah. This is the cycle, the pattern. I'm going to condense it, though. I reach a certain level, and I'm like, hell yeah. And I develop skills and awareness to flourish at that level, at said level. And then I get bored of that level, and I'm like, hey, let's bring this to the fucking next level. And then I add something that I think is going to get us to the next level as a company, as a brand, as an individual, as business partners, as a podcast. And then we start doing it. We start building momentum. We start building consistency, building a habit. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, the momentum creates more demand. And we are winning at the next level. And I always say the world's biggest lie is that success makes life easier. I'm very, very grateful. I have a lot of people reaching out. I have new clients coming on. I've got emails to someone who wants to work with me that I haven't even been able to get back to. I've got Zoom notes that I got to catch up on. And again, it's all great problems to have. So the cycle is crush it at the current level to the point where you know you're ready for the next level. Then you up the ante and build a new habit or a new discipline or a new system, whatever it is. And then you start building momentum. You start gaining altitude. You're like, hell yeah, this is awesome. Let's go. And then all of a sudden, you can't handle that new altitude. The air starts getting too thin. And you realize you can't sustain this. That's where I'm at right now. Because I've leveled up in so many areas lately over the last quarter. And I cannot sustain this without getting rid of some stuff. You ever see the movie Triple Frontier?
No, you've been trying to sell it to me for a while, and I haven't seen. Oh no, yeah, it's terrible.
Terrible. It was terrible
on Netflix.
Yeah,
Netflix special. It was atrocious movie.
You thought that was bad?
Yeah, it was terrible.
You talking about the one with Ben Affleck?
Yep, terrible movie. Dog shit.
Whoa. Okay, I didn't mind it, but anyways, regardless of that, do you remember when they had the helicopter and they had the bags of money,
yep,
and the helicopter couldn't go past a certain altitude without getting rid of some of the money? Okay. And they basically spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, they were too cocky. They weren't willing to get rid of any of the money, and the helicopter ends up crashing because they try to climb too high with too much dead weight. Okay. That's how I think success works. In order to go to the next level, I do think you have to re-essentialize. I think you have to get rid of some shit. So my question for you, what has it been like, and answer this however you want. This is a pattern for me, and I don't think it's a bad pattern. I think that this is what you've been in this spot 1,000 times where, okay, so over the last 8 years, you've witnessed this cycle. What's your perspective on it?
What's my perspective on it? Like, what do you mean?
Well, I know that you and I know that it's necessary to grow. You're not going to get to the next level and have no frustrations. You're not going to... I always say anyone who is okay all the time and never frustrated obviously has no standards. And so this is a necessary growth cycle that I go through. And while I'm not perfect at it, and I'm sure it's hard to watch or be a part of, I do think it's necessary for growth. I really do. I don't think you can win championships metaphorically without this process to some extent. So what's your take on all that?
I think it ends up going back to like not less, but more focused is more. Because that's all that's going to happen is you're going to say like, that's what we're talking about. You can't have 10 essentials. Really. I mean, I guess you can if you only want to give each of them 10%. But I think it's always been cutting down. So right now there are things that feel essential that were essential in the previous season, and they might not be essential in this season. I think that's all it is. That's why I love season so much, because what if one of the 5 things that you're doing just is no longer essential and we didn't realize that we're in a new season?
Well, it's essential in comparison, right? Because
right.
Essential is relative. And
yeah.
It depends on your goals. It all depends on your goals.
What's essential? Food, water, sleep, and shelter.
Yeah.
Right? You can get away with some shit food. You can run on low sleep for a while. Right? Your shelter doesn't have to be great.
But that's if you have no goals. I love this conversation. This is good.
For sure.
The higher your goals are, the more the food, water, shelter, everything needs to be optimized. We were in book club and I shared with everybody, Emilia and I have a runway every week. So every Sunday we review the previous week and we set up the next week. And we have 3 things that we categorize, 3 rows. One of them is stim, no stim, semi-stim, which basically means, are we watching something and we're going to zone out and eat food? Or are we going to be present and have a meal at the dinner table? Semi-stim basically means we have something up. So we have a 115-inch projector that's unbelievable. It's like a home theater. It's my favorite thing ever. And if you put something on YouTube, like a big night sky, you can put campfire. It's really awesome. So that's semi-stim. But anyways, so the 3 things that we do is that what we're working out. So the 3 types of workouts: steady state cardio, HIIT training, and weight training. And then what are we going to eat? And those are the 3 things we line up every week. So we don't have to think about it. It's just, we both know. What's my point of this? In book club, I said, listen, you guys don't have to be, we treat everything like we're Navy SEALs. Everything. Emilia and I are very, very, very optimized. And trust me, I've not done the whiteboard. Our week goes off the freaking rails without it. Because you don't know how good something is until you don't do it. Like, Kevin's been tracking habits for 7 years. If you stopped tracking habits for a month or 2, it would be fun for 2 weeks. It'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, fuck it. But then after that, you'd be like, who am I and what am I doing with my life? Because you don't realize how not optimized you are until after you're optimized. And so what's my point of this? We were on book club and I said, you don't need to be as dialed in as Emilia and I. I'm going to say this stuff because I know it's what works. But if you don't have as high goals as I do, you don't have to treat every day like you're a Navy SEAL. Emilia and I, we like doing that, and we are doing that, and I don't want to go back. You can't do 1,182 days of exercise in a row while also running 3 businesses between the 2 of us without being dialed in, without having structure and systems and calendar and tracking and all this stuff. Trust me, it's not a thing. it's like Google. You're not going to run Google without metrics. Oh yeah, we just kind of show up and play ping pong. No,
it works. It just works.
Yeah, it just works. But so for you, what do you recommend to our listeners or viewers about this system's necessary? And even you and I behind the scenes off air, we said, listen, I'm here to complain a little bit and figure something out, and I appreciate you listening, but I know this is par for the course with where we're headed. So what do you think about this process for other people though?
Well, I think this is just the frustration part of you. When you get to a new level, you get new opportunities, and then you have to reset what normal is. I think that's all it really is. It's just for you, you're already kind of maxed out. So now it's about reallocation, where somebody else, you might be going from your 5th habit you're tracking to your 6th habit. Awesome. Great. But if you're already at 25 habits, there's only so many more. You can only do so many habits every day. There's only so much time. So I think that's all it is eventually, in the beginning, it's intentionality and impact. Then it becomes more about like time. Then when your time is maxed out, it goes back to I can't say the fucking word, intentionality and impact, because you don't have any time. I think that's all it is. And I think it's totally normal for everybody.
Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes.
The common thing, I think, is when something like this happens, you don't feel like you're making progress, even though you're making a ton of progress. So 2 things you do. You either say, shit, I'm doing too much, I have to can it, which I'm not saying is not necessarily the answer. Or the other thing of, okay, right now I'm doing more than I've ever done, but I don't feel great about it. So like, what is that? What does that mean? Am I not doing great work? Am I crushing health and wealth, but I'm not crushing love? Like, what does all this mean? Then we check back in. I think that's all a piece of it. And then I think another piece is, for a lot of people, it reveals what actually matters to you. Oh, you're crushing it with money and you don't really care that much? Okay, well, maybe you don't care about money as much as you thought. Or you're getting way more quality time than you ever have with your partner, and you are questioning if that matters as much as you thought. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Then it's not as essential in the amount that you thought. Let's revisit that. But yeah, with you and I, how many times has this happened? This is normal as hell.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know we only have 4 minutes here, but the maximization, I used to say this to Kev all the time. I want to maximize my potential and help others do the same. And he'd say, no one gives a shit. He didn't say that. But he said, no one else is trying to maximize their potential. And I think when it comes to the literal words of that, maximize, what does that mean? To max out. To, like, I know I have more to give. And this is the weird thing of, so I think last week I did 52 coaching sessions, trainings, and podcasts. For a lot of people, I know that sounds terrible. For me, if I'm trying to be the best speaker, coach, trainer, and podcaster that I can possibly become, I'm on that journey. I'm on that path. That's great. But this is a weird conversation, because in the Pareto principle, 20% of effort creates 80% of rewards. Okay. This is why, if you don't have clear goals, you cannot maximize anything. Because am I maximizing the amount of beer I can drink? Am I maximizing the amount of workouts I can do? Am I maximizing muscle mass? It all depends on the goal. Everything depends on the goal. And I think that's why I want you to explain it, because my brain understands mathematically that basically what I'm saying without saying it, when I come to Kev and I say, brother, and it's Monday, and I didn't get a full back office Sunday. Emilia and I redid the Conscious Couples studio, and it took fucking way longer than we hoped. And it is what it is, and it looks great. But I didn't exactly have the Sunday I typically have. And so I come into Kev, and it's, shit, I got to redesign something. I'm behind. I need to figure out how to play at this new level. That's really what it is. I have to figure out how to effectively play at this new level, especially before we go to the next level. And what I'm really saying without saying it is, hey man, I've maxed out at the level I'm playing at, and I have to get back to Pareto and double down on things that matter more, because this is the conversation of leverage. This is, if I put an hour in, okay, this is a good example. If I put 1 hour into creating a great podcast episode with Kev, because you guys, anyone watching or listening, you're only hearing us on the microphone. You're not hearing the pre and the post and the experience review. You're not hearing the title and the topic and, okay, are you good? What are we going to plug? So, and that's all fine. But let's say I dedicate 1 hour of my time to making this episode as good as possible. That is more impact, more leverage, and more long-term revenue than any other single thing I can do with a single hour. And everyone out there watching or listening, there's one thing that you can do that maximizes money. There's another thing you can do that maximizes fulfillment. Hopefully those are the same thing, and they're most likely fucking not, let's be real. And that's one of the greatest problems in life. The fact that the thing that fulfills you the most is not the thing that makes you the most money.
And health, wealth, and love almost never connect. I mean, they do for you and Emilia have a business together and you exercise together, but even that, it would be great if you were just doing that, but you're not. You have another business that's requires way more.
And
that's
even
why.
Then, it's not quality time.
I know.
I mean, it is. It's better than not being with her, but it's definitely not.
I think the higher
on a deep level,
the higher you try to climb each mountain, the worse it gets. Because if you're just trying to climb the wealth mountain, awesome. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's way easier.
Yeah.
If you want to be single forever and you don't care about your health at all, yeah, cool. Go make a boatload of money. It's not going to be as hard as it would be to do all of them. That's why. I think that's why it's so much harder. So that's the explanation is if you're like, well, I'd like to be in like okay shape and I'd like to have okay money and I'd like to have an okay relationship, your life is going to be far easier than somebody who wants the best of those. Your life is going to be far more challenging than somebody who will settle for anything. And it's always, the higher your standards are in each arena, the higher the game is and the harder it is to stay in the arena because eventually your baseline is close to impossible already. Like that's the thing that's so hard. It's so hard to explain. 7 episodes a week is the minimum.
Being a CEO, being you and I, business owners, you got to get good at a lot of stuff. Dude, we have to be good at so many things. It's so fucking annoying.
Well, this is the path that we have chosen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to, just let it go. You don't have to work out anymore. That'd be cool. Like I get a lot of time back.
We did do that for a little while.
I know.
I'm kidding.
And
I still worked out. I just did.
Well, I was Jeffing and I wasn't nearly as fulfilled. So that's the thing is, like Alan said, if you're out there and you have that moment, go bitch about it to someone like Alan does with me. Sometimes you'll get the answers to it. Sometimes you just need to say it out loud. And usually it's this. I have to refocus on essentials and this is a growth opportunity for me. And that's all it is. And the essentials are usually the same but better. And then you got to get rid of some stuff that doesn't matter as much as it once did.
There's a principle, I know we're going to go. There's a principle in the book, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And that book is just awesome. Every single one of those laws is sound. And it's one of my favorite books of all time. It's right behind me. You have to give up to grow up. It's called the law of trade-offs. You have to give up to grow up. And I'm going to have to give something up in order to get to the next level. And I always use the example of snowboarding and basketball. A lot of people don't want to hear it. Oh no, you should totally. Listen, Emilia and I both have snowboards in our basement. We both love snowboarding. I met her 5.5 years ago. I snowboarded and skied my entire life up until basically we started this business. And Emilia and I have never gone together. We've never once gone snowboarding together. We are going to at some point, but we're not going to be able to snowboard every weekend and build 3 businesses between the two of us. And I just think that Kevin and I are very honest about that. The people that we've met that are the most successful, they're really, 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 really successful in one narrow area. And you just have to understand that if you want to be healthy, wealthy, and in love, that's our goal. We want to be healthy, wealthy, and in love. That is my essentials right there. I want to be healthy as hell, wealthy as hell, and in love. And that's going to be way harder. So in these times when I'm frustrated, I'm not pity partying. I'm not trying to play the victim. Like, this is all by design. This is all par for the course. And I know that. And it's just a question of let's be honest about it. Let's do an episode about it. Let's share with our listeners what I'm going through, because I don't want anyone out there to think, oh, we just make it look so easy. To me, the higher you climb in life, the harder it's going to be. And that's okay.
For sure. Yeah, I think that is a fact. Last thing before we go, people ask on podcasts, they say, do you think you can succeed without struggle? And I'm convinced that the struggle you must overcome is directly connected to the size of the goals you set. If you just want to have a podcast, it's not that hard to do. Like, awesome, start and then do episodes whenever you feel like it. It's not going to be that challenging. Like, cool, good, awesome. If you want to get to 100 episodes, that'll be harder, whatever, right? Every goal requires a different level of effort, and it requires a different level of suffer. And this is the thing I would end on before we get out of here. Alan said, I have more to give. I wonder if when you have more to give, you also have more to give up, unfortunately. That's an episode for a future time. All right.
Whoa.
As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.